I messed up by taking my wedding ring off at the gym. Original post. I have just recently arrived home following this FU. I, a very happily married 36 male with a small herd of children, have been going to the gym in my little town since November 2022. I always go after getting the kids to bed, which generally puts me there around 8:30 p.m. The gym I go to has 2 rooms. One has cardio equipment, ellipticals, treadmills, bikes, etc., while the other room has free weights and various other torture devices. My routine begins the same every time, with 9.1 to 9.5 miles on the bike, which leaves me in a state similar to that of a walrus that has just managed to pull himself onto an iceberg, very wet and breathing heavy. This process takes me to about 8:55 p.m. I enjoy hitting weights at this time because the gym is often though not always empty, and it leaves me to grunt and groan in peace. Tonight, the gym was not empty when I entered the weight room. Now, I mentioned that I have been going to the gym since early November. In that time, I have gotten used to the people that do spend time in the gym past 9, and this person was new. Not a big deal. She had brought her own yoga mat. The ones in the gym are blue and red, and this one was tie-dye-ish, and she had her phone set up on a stand. I assumed she was making a video. Both of these observations were made as I walked down to my trusty bench to start my bent-over rows. I grabbed my dumbbells and sat down to continue my ritual. This was the messed up. I always remove my wedding ring before I lift and tuck it in my right sock for safekeeping. If I try to wear it, it digs into my hand and makes things most unpleasant. So, I start grunting out reps with all righty and just nicely switch to lefty when I feel a tap on my shoulder. I stopped what I was doing and turned to see new girl standing behind me sporting a menacing glare and wielding her iPhone. I popped out my earbud and asked what was up. The following conversation is as I remember it. Me: "Hey, what's up?" New girl: "You're disgusting." Me: "Excuse me?" New girl: "You saw me in here and took off your ring. Planning on chatting me up?" This is a little paraphrased as she swore a little too and I wasn't taking perfect notes. Me: "What?" New girl: "You're gross." Me: "Okay." I proceeded to put my earbuds back in and get to work, while she stormed to the other side of the gym and started packing up her stuff. I watched her head for the exit while I was resting between sets. Anyway, I'm rowing away and out of nowhere I'm blasted with a cascade of liquid which leads me to drop my dumbbell and spin around to see what's going on. There's new girl with her recently emptied pink Yeti screaming at me. I'm assuming for being gross. It was unclear as I had my buds in still. I remove my earbuds so I can understand her and she storms away. I think the highlight of the exchange is that my gym shirt now smells like vodka. Do most people drink at the gym? Am I doing this wrong? I'm home, showered, and explained why my shirt smells like I've had a raging party to my wife. We've both had a good laugh. If I see new girl's video on social media, I'll be sure to share it here. I don't know who she was, but it's a pretty small town so it might pop up. Cheers! Now for the top comments before reading the update. If I come across this video on TikTok, I'm expecting Joey Swall to stitch it. I would probably file a complaint to gym management. You were minding your own business and she made a mess over nothing. 100% when she sprayed vodka onto you, this turned into an assault. I'm surprised at your restraint. I would have gone running after her and walked her right up to the gym staff and explained what happened so that she could be kicked out of the gym and embarrassed. People are strange. It's very common to not wear your ring to lift. I never wear mine to the gym at all because it gives me calluses, and I also don't want to scratch it. You didn't mess up. She did. Sorry someone was so rude to you. I didn't take off my ring while I was kayaking, and boy did that give me the quickest blister ever. I never wear mine anywhere near the ocean. Lol. I can't imagine it slipping off my finger into the abyss. I have to address the most glaring thing as a jeweler, who also did bodybuilding for many years. Do not wear your ring to the gym. Do not wear your ring to the gym. Do not wear your ring to the gym. First, ring avulsion. The risk is just way too high. If this doesn't freak you out enough to not wear it, then you're on your own. I can't help you. You wouldn't drive your expensive car through rocks and mud. That's what the gym is to your ring. It damages your band and you lose metal over time. You're chipping your stones. And yes, your jeweler will make money every time you bring it in to repair. So you're essentially wasting money, ruining your really nice ring and risking serious injury. Please invest in silicone band. OP, if I were you, I would report her to the gym because not only did she assault you with vodka, but she did so mid-rep. Not only could you have gotten hurt, but the fact that no one else was there means that you could have been left there for hours without help. Oof, this as well. I've reported people for horsing around a weight room before and feel no remorse. You could seriously injure or kill someone. Now for the updates. Well, this got a lot of attention. So I had emailed the gym owner last night at the request of my wife, as she feels the same as many of you that this lady could be dangerous to others. He has already emailed back. Apparently, new girl received a ban early 2022 for aggressive behavior with another gym patron. Owner is going to call me later today for some follow-up. I will definitely look into the silicone rings. Thanks, everybody. Final update. I had initially planned on responding to a bunch of the comments, but there are just so many. Anyway, you girl's previous aggression was verbal. The gym owner has deactivated her key fob and placed her on permaban. He has also called a few of the smaller gyms in the areas to give them a heads up. Super cool dude. Thanks everybody for the thoughts and advice. I know I've let a bunch of you down by not pressing charges, etc. But I also know I have made many of you proud by completing my cardio after lifting tonight. Before I left for the gym tonight, my wife recommended a raincoat for protection. She's the best. That's all for now unless the video surfaces. Cheers! When I was a kid, my entire paternal extended family was at my grandparents' house for a get-together. Not long after my grandfather returned from the hospital after a heart attack, and my grandparents had needed some help with a bit of outside work. No problem, everyone helped out, and we were done in like 30 minutes of that. Before we all got started, my mom and dad took off their wedding and engagement rings because the stuff we were tackling was a little messy and could result in them losing their rings. My narcissistic aunt and spineless uncle proceeded to make fun of my parents for taking care of their precious possessions and got right to work, acting like my parents weren't helping them and taking off the rings had taken 2 hours instead of 2 seconds. Anyway, we all finish and go inside to hang out/eat lunch. My parents have both put their rings back on by this point. Halfway through lunch, my youngest cousin notices that neither of his parents have the rings. Cue my psycho aunt absolutely losing her damn mind, blaming my parents and forcing everyone to go outside and dig through all the at least 18-yard bags of gross, sludgy, and decaying leaves to find the rings. We didn't find them, and they sent my parents the bill for their new ones. Some people are just too self-centered to properly function in society. Please tell me your parents' response was the same as your username. Please, word for word. I need it to be. No, they were much more polite and tactful about it. Actually, lol f no was my response to one of my cousins when they brought up me apologizing to my aunt 6 months after I cut her off for being crazy and horrible. Though I had the emoji in the text as well. Wait, was this woman chugging vodka at the gym? My dad has an ex who would put alcohol in her grandkids' sippy cup and drive because no one questions what's in a sippy cup. End of that relationship. Now I'm rethinking if every time I take my rings off at the gym that there's someone taking it the wrong way, and not that lifting while wearing rings is not a good idea. I don't know. I am creep alert from bad experiences in the past, but if I saw some random dude taking off his wedding ring and then settle in to do gym stuff, my immediate reaction would be, oh my god, what trash. The gym patron clearly had a screw loose or way too many the wrong places. Last story. I moved out and took everything. Original post. It became apparent to me last week that my roommates were trying to drive me out of the house to get one of their boyfriends in on my lease. When I told them I wanted to stay, they started staging incidents/messes around the house so they could yell at me for them. And it all came to a head when they called a meeting with me 2 days ago. One of them had to hold the other back as she screamed at me that she hated me and that I was not welcome in the building. They proceeded to tell me that I contributed nothing to the house and wasted their space, and that they had gotten in with the landlady and convinced her to not renew my lease in June. I told them I'd talk to the landlady, and when they said they were the heads of the house, I laughed and went on with my day. I spoke to the landlady and she acknowledged that they were out of hand, and while she had given them the power to not renew my lease, she also said I could move out whenever and not pay for a single day I wasn't there. So yesterday, when my roommates both left to visit family, their sisters, I immediately called everyone I knew and vacated the house of everything I owned. I took the curtains, the rugs, all the cat toys, and even the cat tower that I had made with my mom. I took all of their things off my shelves and other furniture and stacked them in the middle of the now nearly empty living room. I snapped pictures of everything, handed the keys to the landlady, and immediately left. They won't be back to the house until tomorrow. I blocked them and everything so I won't get any angry messages. But I'm sure their faces will be priceless when they come home to a half-empty house, with hundreds of dollars in storage and furniture gone. So much for me not contributing anything to the house. Now I actually don't. They also have to find someone else to take up the lease till boyfriend can move in when June comes around. Or they have to pick up my rent. Feels pretty good. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Get a lease release in writing from the landlady, including the exemption from rent. Cover your back. I have a text from her saying she exempts me from rent as soon as I leave. A screenshot with her name isn't as legally valuable as a screenshot showing the actual phone number at the top. It's usually recommended to delete her contact info, at least temporarily, so it shows the number versus the name if you need to use a screenshot of the text for legal reasons. It is on Facebook message, so I can't get it with her number on it. I don't think. Good for you for not putting up with that nonsense. Post back with a text if they contact you. I will. They're going to try and claim I stole things or say I made a mess of the house. But I intentionally took photos of everything before I left and had my landlady do a walkthrough of the house and my things with my mother, who backed me up in what belonged to me. Your landlady seems excellent. It's hard to find reliable landlords nowadays. Well, it is horrible that she's letting the tenants essentially decide who can and can't renew leases and bully other tenants out of the house. But I am grateful that she was understanding of how unstable they had gotten, and she was willing to let me out without any financial repercussions. Who says she plans to renew their lease? You got lots of warning and time to be able to move out on your terms. She has to let tenants stay through the lease, but she can choose to let them know a month beforehand that she doesn't intend to renew. Less time for them to make a mess of the place, and they might want to break the lease early if they have to pay her share, which would save her the hassle. Edit. I didn't realize so many people would have wanted to see their reaction. While I have blocked them for my mental health, I'm sure they will try to reach out to harass my friends. If they do, I will absolutely be posting an update for y'all. And now for the update. It took a while for things to settle down, but I'll just post a quick update on how everything is going. I emailed my attorney asking if the screenshots I took of my landlady's text saying I could leave with no financial repercussions would protect me if she somehow changed her mind and wanted to charge me rent. He said I was good to go and would be covered by it. A lot of people are asking about whether or not my roommates will actually have to pick up my rent. My lease specifically states, if one tenant is not able to fulfill their portion of the rent, it will be up to the other tenants to make up the difference. I don't know if she will make an exception or not for them. She did tell me though that it will be their responsibility to get someone to lease my room until boyfriend can move in June. The girls came back from visiting family today, so it is certain that they have seen the empty house now. I haven't gotten any calls from any officers about stolen goods, so I'm thinking I'm in the clear. Considering that I haven't actually stolen anything, they would be filing a false report, which is very illegal according to my attorney. And a big one, my boyfriend was pretty angry by the whole situation as he heard the whole screaming meeting, where they told me to leave as he was up in my room when it happened, and he has also observed the horrible text and language they have sent and said to me, and confronted both of my roommates online about how they've been acting. They immediately went to their dad and had a cops called. I don't know all of the details, and frankly, I don't want to because I have them blocked as I want nothing to do with them, and I just want my life to go on. But yeah, my boyfriend pretty much had to go to the station and sign some papers saying he'd leave them alone. I'm pretty angry with him for confronting them, but like, the cops? Come on. Anyways, I'm couch surfing until I can get a place. I have two lined up that I'm very interested in, both of which girls who I know and can trust. I think things are looking up. And hopefully this is the last time I have to think about this ever again. If something does happen, I will be updating. Thanks to everyone for the support. It makes me feel really good knowing that 1, I'm not a bad person here like the girls gaslighted me into thinking I was, and 2, that my suffering did brighten some people's days. Hopefully if something like this happens to you, you use similar tactics. I would love to hear about it. It was also really encouraging to know that I'm not alone in having roommate issues. It was uplifting to hear other people's stories and how they got through it. Sending lots of love. Can't you just live with your boyfriend? My boyfriend and I have been dating for just under a year, and so we aren't quite ready to move in together. He also has a great place and good roommates, so I don't want to mess with that. He has given me a place on a couch though, as I wait to find a new place to live, and I'm incredibly grateful. I love it when people seem to forget that their house is stocked with possessions of the person they're harassing. Either that, or they were stupid enough to think she'd just leave all her furniture if they shouted loud enough. Had roommates like that. I initially moved in with a coworker. When his lease ended, he moved back to his hometown. So I remained and got new roommates. A couple. Thing is, after a year, my portion of the lease turned into month to month, while they were on a year lease. One day, for no freaking reason, she attacked me physically. And I was already thinking of leaving, but that day cemented it. I would have loved to see their faces when they realized the apartment wasn't furnished like they thought. And this was a huge reason I was looking to leave. They had zero respect for my stuff, and I couldn't all fit it in a single bedroom. But it was all my stuff, LMAO. They came over with a bed, a dresser, and their clothes. That's it. After he got done moving it all, should have filed a report for assault and battery. I did. It led nowhere. I had a roommate who would clip his toenails in the living room and not clean up, spill tea and curry and not clean up, leave black rings around the tub and water flooding the bathroom, along with much, much more. And he tried to say that I was the bad roommate/woman for not cleaning up after him. Some people are just a special kind of nut. I didn't tell my husband update. Original post. My partner, 31 male, and I, 25 female, are having our second child, and he hasn't been working due to a work injury, so for the last 2 going on 3 months, it's been very stressful for us. My paternal aunt gave me half of what she got from selling my grandma's house, her mother. She inherited it last year due to my grandmother passing away, and she's spent 6 months getting my moochers off a father and brother out of the house and fixing it up. We haven't spoken since the funeral, and last week she called to meet for lunch. And when I went, she handed me a check worth over $200K. I didn't understand, but she said my grandma thought of me as a daughter, and I was the only one other than her that took care of her and my grandpa. And while they didn't have the money to give me, she sold the house and after talking to her husband, decided I deserved half of it. My hormones are everywhere, and she had to help me calm down because we were in so much debt. I felt so thankful. She told me she wasn't giving anything to anyone else and would prefer for me not to tell anyone, so I didn't. I put it in my account, and once it cleared, I began slowly paying off my husband's and my debt. I paid people back that had loaned us money, cleared our credit cards, paid our car off, put $10,000 in our daughter's savings account, and planned to make one for our second child when it's born. I didn't tell my husband because we have separate finances, and have since we got together. He doesn't even know what our debts were or how far behind we were, so I didn't think he would notice. But he watches his credit, and when he says that it went up and that I had received a letter from my community college that my debt was paid, he asked me. I told him my aunt gave me money but not how much, and he tried accessing my bank account. When he couldn't get in, he took my debit card without me knowing and went to an ATM and saw the balance. He yelled at me for hiding it. I told him it doesn't matter because we were no longer in debt and we could finish our degrees. He walked out and hasn't spoken to me in 3 days. I requested a new debit card and changed my information regarding my account because now I don't trust him not to try to buy something. I admit I should have told him, but it's not like he knows how much money I make for my job. I don't know what to do. Edit. Okay, so reading the comments, I need to answer some questions. 1. He doesn't like my family at all. I met him when I was a kid because he was my older brother's best friend. Things changed when we got together when I was 19 and they don't speak anymore. He avoids anything to do with my family. 2. Most of our relationship is great. We agreed to have 1 kid because I dreamed of being a mom. But during the pregnancy, he treated me like crap. And even after our daughter was born, he continuously made me feel like a bad mom for asking him for help when I was exhausted. And he just wanted to play games or drink. He only started helping and being supportive after being separated for a few months and us getting counseling. 3. He and my daughter both have my last name. 4. I wanted joint finances when we got married and he didn't. I was only in debt of $5,000 for my college at a time, and he had some, but he told me he had it covered, which I found out he did not. 5. What I meant about him not knowing how much in debt we were is that he'd open credit cards in both our names and max them out, and then when he couldn't use them anymore, he'd apply for more. I did not know this until hiring a firm to help get my credit up. They told me I could press charges or pay them off. I wanted to pay it off because he's my husband, and even if he put us in debt, I do love him. 6. We didn't want more children. He got into a fight with his sister and she did something she shouldn't have, but he also refused to get snipped. We didn't find out I was pregnant until it was too late for another option. 7. We moved in with my mom to help us get things back on track, and he got hurt at work. Yes, I believe he is depressed, but he's also blown all the money he had saved on video games, liquor, and pot. He didn't spend a dime on any of the debt he caused or for our daughter. He makes more than I do, but with the way he spends his money, it's like we live in one income. 8. Do I trust him? Yes, I do in almost every way I can, except for money, and he's proven that again and again. I also have been giving him small portions of the money, so he can still go and do things he wants to do. It's not like I'm just hoarding it away from him. I just didn't tell him that it wasn't from my paychecks like he assumed. 9. He has the PIN to my debit card, because while I didn't tell him about the money, I do let him use it when he needs to. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Girl, those edits. Any man that secretly opens and maxes out credit cards and makes you miserable for having his child is not the partner you deserve to be with. He straight up doesn't respect you and expects you'll continue to be a doormat. That's why he was mad when you didn't tell him about the inheritance, because it was you going against him in a way, by not letting him walk all over you like usual. All this to say, he sounds like an absolute pile of red flags, and I know it's not easy, but please consider getting in solo therapy to help you consider whether this relationship is healthy for you and your kids. This. The original post was bad enough, but the edits paint a picture of a selfish and worthless partner with no consideration for anyone other than himself. Adobe is pregnant because Hubs had a fight with his sister and she did something she shouldn't have done. Did she poke holes in his rubbers? Mess with Opie's birth control? Whatever it was, Opie should run, not walk, away from that crazy. His sister poked holes in his rubbers after they got into an argument. I didn't react well to birth control, and because of my age, a doctor won't make it more permanent. Wait, what? He got in an argument with his sister and she responded by poking holes in your rubbers? I'm pretty sure that is illegal in some way. Surely you're not still in contact with this woman. No, we got contact when we discovered I was pregnant. We told his family and she just laughed and threw it in our faces that she had the upper hand. We haven't spoken to her since we found out 6 months ago. So instead of being thankful for the money helping you both out while he's not working, he's upset? I can see why you didn't tell him. Exactly. What a moocher. And he even has the audacity to throw a temper tantrum. What does he even bring to the relationship when he doesn't work, doesn't take care of the child or the household, and actually acts like another toddler? It took your family such a long time to get rid of 2 moochers, and you invited another one in. Sorry if it's harsh, but that's how it is. And the credit cards? Damn, I don't even have words. I would definitely kick him out at that point, and probably even press charges. Now for the update. If you read my post, thanks for the advice, and even if some of the comments weren't that nice, I'm still thankful. Over the last 3 days, I've spoken to my mom and my in-laws. My husband reached out to her that he didn't want to be with me anymore, but it wasn't because of the money. It was because he felt forced to get married and have a baby. And even though we got pregnant with a second one because of his sister, he still blames me. 6 years together and felt like he refused to talk about it, even when we were in counseling. I asked his mom what he wanted to do, because he wasn't answering my phone calls or messages, and she said she sent him money for a plane ticket so he could go to her. I'm heartbroken that she didn't tell him to try harder for his kids. After all, his dad left him and his siblings, but I can't force him to stay and I have to think about them right now. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I spoke to a lawyer my friend used for his divorce yesterday and he's going to help me draw up a divorce plan. He said my husband can go after the money, but he doesn't think he will. I'm filing for full custody and will be asking for a minimum in child support unless he wants to sign his rights over. I'm done being stupid and thinking he would grow up. I packed his things and hired a moving company to take them to his mom's house, so all his stuff will be gone in a few days too. My first clue he didn't want our daughter was that she was not even crying asking where he is. She's just running around with me and my mom. I did send him a little bit of money for his travels and told his mom I'll send the divorce papers as soon as I get them. She just told me okay and hung up. So that's what's been happening the last few days. Haven't spoken to my soon-to-be ex-husband, and I'm now fully on my own since I was 19. I hope everything goes good. Hopefully I don't have to update again. God damn, this woman married garbage. She's rid of him now at least. Bet is only divorcing her now to get access to that money. In our country, you have no right in your spouse's inheritance. Is this different somewhere? In some places, if the money was used as a marital asset, probably such as paying debts for your spouse like Opie did, it can be claimed as such in the divorce. If Opie is an area like that, her husband knows exactly what he's doing. He claims he doesn't want a divorce because of the money, but that's absolutely what it's about. He knows the only way to get his hands on part of it is by leaving her. Well, hopefully she'll read her posts back every once in a while and realize she's making the right decision, because her husband is a giant man-child. When I read that she trusted him before the update, I literally said, yikes. There were so many things wrong. It felt like Opie was the cartoon dog in the everything is on fire panel saying, this is fine. And the narrator voice was like, it was not fine. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting my husband to go to his ex's funeral? Plus update. I'll admit, I'm biased right off the bat. I couldn't stand her. I call her his ex to myself and others while he called her his friend. We're all in our early 40s and she died recently of aneurysm. I've been with him for 10 years now, but had known her for 20 plus. The way he tells it, they were friends in college, decided to date, got married, then realized they weren't a great couple and decided to just be friends. All that happened years before I met him. He was clear early on that she was important. A couple months into dating, it came up that his friend was actually his ex-wife. He explained the above to me, saying she was one of his closest friends and that it was purely platonic. I expressed some discomfort at him being so close to an ex, and he told me, that's fine. If you have a serious issue with it, let me know now and save us some time, because I'll choose her. I like you and all, but I've known her for over 12 years, and she's one of the most important people in my life. You'll have to be okay with that if you want us to be a thing. When we were engaged, I asked again. He gave me this perplexed look and asked, why would us getting married affect my friendships? I sucked it up and went along. I resented every moment of knowing her, especially when we had to be social. She understood some part of him I couldn't. Her husband was friends with mine as well, so it's not like I could use him as an angle. He'd have lunch with the ex, they'd go to their geeky movies and whatever. The few times I brought it up, he said, we had this conversation before. You had your chance to back out. She died after they had lunch the other day on the way to her car. He spent a bunch of time crying, but honestly, I was relieved. He was working with her husband on funeral planning. I told him, you don't think you're going, do you? My argument summed up, she's dead, so she's not a factor anymore. He doesn't get to use his she's my friend excuse since she doesn't exist anymore. He had his cry for a couple of days. He gets to be done with mourning her already. There's no need for him to go to her funeral, since I wouldn't want her at his. He was the angriest I've ever seen him when I told him that, replying that he'll be going no matter how I feel, and that he's willing to burn this to the freaking ground while holding up his wedding band. Besides you, she was the closest friend in my life. Him, her husband, and my sisters are calling me an insensitive a-hole over this, all saying that there was no romantic aspect to their relationship, and that I'm heartless. Her husband went as far as calling me a ghoul for how I've reacted. I never felt their relationship was appropriate, and I hid that for years because I wanted to be with my husband. Now that she's gone, I don't feel I should have to hide it anymore, and can speak freely. Am I the a-hole for wanting him to be done with her, and for him to not attend a funeral? Now for the top comments before reading the update. You're the a-hole, and when he divorces you, he probably won't have to explain his friendship with you to the next woman because, seriously, who'd want to stay friends with a woman who had treated you like this? How heartless. You're the a-hole, OP, and congrats on your impending divorce. If she doesn't exist anymore, why are you still so jealous of her? He can't even leave you for her now, so I think it's time you got past it. You're the a-hole. You can speak freely and he can leave after finding out how heartless you actually are. Fair enough. I bet he will leave her over this anyway, even when the ex is dead. 'Cause damn did she prove to be a crappy person. That's the thing though, even if she doesn't exist, that doesn't mean there will be nothing else to worry about. Every anniversary of the death, every birthday of hers that she's no longer here for, etc. Does she expect him to not acknowledge any of that? Because from what it sounds like, he's the type of person who would. Just because she's gone doesn't mean she's gone. Even her death isn't going to be enough for OP. She's going to want him to pretend this person never existed in the first place. And now for the update. We've been together for 10 years, but is choosing to end all of that because of how I reacted to his ex-wife's death. They were friends when we met, and his claim was that they dated and gotten married while they were young and dumb, before realizing they worked better as friends than as a couple. He told me that if I wanted a relationship with him, I needed to accept she'd always be part of his life. He'd do things like go to geeky movies with her, and sometimes her husband, they do their tabletop gaming, all of which I found boring. He and I had a mostly happy marriage, I thought, but I had to deal with her presence and pretending she and her husband were friends. I hated her, and when she died, I was relieved. I didn't want him going to her funeral, saying now that she was out of his life, he was done with her. I was called cold and callous for wanting to put my foot down. Yes, he went to the funeral, which I was very uncomfortable with. I asked him not to go again, and he just gave me this cold, expressionless stare. She was cremated, and my husband was given a little bit of her ashes in a small urn the size of a pill bottle. I told him it was creepy to have them, and it flipped me the bird. The past month plus of my life has been a nightmare because of her dying. My husband has barely talked to me, and I've received texts from nearly all our friends and family calling me a monster. All because someone saw my original post on Reddit and shared it with everyone they could, even people at my job. Many of the posts here were nice in comparison to the things the people I thought were my friends said. I was just out of town for several days on a work trip. Then on Friday, I came home to a partly empty house, with his car gone and a petty-sounding letter saying that we would be getting a divorce. Not that he wanted one, that it was going to happen and he's already filed. He said that my post was one of the most hurtful things he's ever read, and that my jealousy of his friendship was insane. He wrote, I freaking watched her die. She was walking by my side when it happened. I have nightmares about it. He said I'd be keeping the house because I don't want to spend every morning waking up to a reminder of the years of lies that was our marriage. He left a list of what he's taking, saying I can keep the rest. His last line was, if it had been me instead of her, she'd have been there for you in an instant. Remember that. I learned to staying with her husband because the man sent me a long text telling me to stay away from his home, and he regretted ever letting me into his life. Even my own sister said if she learned I was dating someone, she'd fill him in on what a black-hearted C-word I am. So yeah, my husband is divorcing me because of his first wife's death. She's more important to him, and it seems to our friends, than keeping our marriage together is. She's screwing up my life even from the grave.
Am I the a-hole for changing my son's school so he wouldn't have to shoulder the weight of helping his stepbrother? X, 40 male, and I, 31 female, have a son who is 11. X cheated on me with his current wife 3 years ago. X's wife has a son, Daniel, who is the same age as my son. The first 2 years were rough. Daniel's home was ripped apart too and lashed out at my son because of it. He bullied him for a solid 2 years, made his life a living hell to the point the school called us all in at various times, and there was tension between all of us because I requested my son to be more protected. And I told my ex he needed to do a better job of protecting our son and not let him suffer because he decided to cheat with a married woman. My ex took me to court then because I requested at one of these meetings that my son and Daniel be separated in school. And my ex wanted to sever my education decision abilities because he said I was using the cheating to get what I wanted and to create more distance between the new brothers. The judge did not like hearing what I said, but it was my ex's actions he didn't like. From defending having them in the same class despite the bullying being to the level it was, to saying I shouldn't get to say in the decision, to admitting he left his wife to attend meetings on his behalf at times, and then digging his heels in with the judge. So, the judge gave me full educational decision-making, where I only need to notify X of any change. After the whole bullying ordeal was over, they decided my son needed to help Daniel with schoolwork because Daniel was struggling in school. This included in and out of school and taking up lunchtime if Daniel needed it. My son hated it. His relationship with Daniel has not gotten better because of the bullying. And back in May, he told me he wanted to change schools. I weighed the options, and after talking to my ex about the pressure put on our son despite everything that had happened, and him saying they were brothers and our son would grow to appreciate being forced eventually, I decided to respect what my son wanted, and I moved him from that school to another one in the district, which was possible because of my address and slight changes in zoning in the last 2 years. X expressed unhappiness with it, but that was it when I told him. And then our son didn't need to help Daniel as much. Until after Christmas when both boys were doing school virtually and they asked our son to help Daniel. So one time in an exchange with his dad about it, our son said he thought moving schools would stop him being forced to help Daniel. My ex went nuts and raged at me for moving him to stop helping Daniel when Daniel is an innocent kid who doesn't deserve that. I told him our son was innocent too and shouldn't have the pressure of 2 loads of work/homework on him, and they need to get Daniel an actual tutor since he's struggling so bad. He called me an a-hole and said it was spite for his cheating and punishing a child. I see it as more doing what's best for my child, which is my priority. Do you think X is right? Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. I think you need to consider filing for full custody. Your ex is being abusive to your son. This needs to happen right away. Your ex doesn't care about your son. Right. He cares more about keeping his new wife happy. Do it, Opie. Protect your child. Not the a-hole. In no world is an 11-year-old going to be forced to help his abuser. Exactly. This will eventually cause a lot of mental stress to the kid, and I can't imagine how bad it would be for him. Opie is right to protect her child. Not the a-hole. I would go back to court for full custody. The fact that your ex placed the burden of academic assistance on an 11-year-old rather than help his son himself speaks volumes. I am a certified teacher with a master's and over a decade of experience. Move your son to a different school. In all honesty, I would temporarily refuse to allow my son to be forced to be near that child. Mental health is incredibly fragile at your son's age. Your child cannot continue to bear a burden that he shouldn't have been saddled with in the first place. Furthermore, your son will begin to experience detrimental effects of bullying, neglect from his father, academic pressures, etc. Unacceptable when it could all be avoided. Best of luck to you and your family. You are a good mom. And from what I understand, a large part of Dad's reasoning is that by having his son help his stepson, a closer relationship would form. Dad needs to get hell over this need for a close sibling connection between the 2 boys. Especially if Dad won't do a damn thing to curb the bullying from the stepson. Dad seems hung up on the idea that everything Opie does to protect her son is somehow her way of getting revenge because he cheated. From an outsider's perspective, it looks like he's trying to use his 11-year-old son as a mechanism to make everything all shiny and rosy and happy, and creating this great blended family. I'm sorry, but it was Dad's poor choices, in part, that led everyone to this place, and it's not a child's responsibility to fix it. Not the a-hole. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for spraying my arm with no true dog spray so my stepsister wouldn't lick it anymore? So, I have a step-sibling that is on the spectrum. One of the big issues she has is that she licks everything and everyone. It's some sort of sensory thing. She has a special therapist that's supposed to help with this problem. They've told my dad and stepmom to get her interested in licking other things. For example, she has these special bracelets and necklaces she wears for licking. My dad and stepmom say they've helped a lot with the issue, but every single time I have to come to visit, she gets too close to me and licks me. It's gross and makes me uncomfortable. My dad and stepmom know it makes me uncomfortable and will pull her away when she does this, but she will inevitably lick me again multiple times while I'm there. On a side note, we got a new puppy at my mom's house. He has been having trouble with chewing furniture. We got this special no-chew spray that we sprayed on the legs of the furniture. Our puppy pretty much stopped chewing the furniture immediately. So the next time I had to go to my dad's, I decided to try spraying my arms and neck with the no-chew spray before I left. Within 20 minutes of being at my dad's place, my stepsister licks me. This time though, she pulls away fast, makes this face, and starts freaking out. Anyway, my dad and stepmom got mad at me about it. They said what I did was mean and demeaning. But their stuff wasn't working at all. It didn't make any difference when I was there. The spray did work though, because she did try to lick me or get too much into my personal space again till days later. After she tried to lick me again, my dad said I better not use the spray again. I said if they got her to stop licking me, the spray wouldn't bother her. Then he said he would take me straight back home if it happened again. I said that I just wouldn't come back over there anymore. I didn't talk to him or anyone else for the rest of the trip. Since I've gotten home, he's called me a few times and I have ignored all the calls. I've listened to a few voicemails he's left though. They're basically all saying the same thing, that this isn't how I'm supposed to treat family, and I need to make exceptions and be understanding of my stepsister. Not Dayhall. You're allowed to not be licked. It would seem your stepsister is more capable of correcting her own behavior than her parents are expecting of her if your no-chew spray method worked for a few days. Their behavior needs correcting too, and removing yourself from a situation that makes you uncomfortable seems to make a lot of sense here. Keeping one family member comfortable at the expense of another isn't what families are supposed to do either. Was going to say this. Sounds like it isn't an uncontrollable behavior, since the taste deterrent of the spray immediately worked better than everything they and the therapist have done. Not Dayhall. This is actually a pretty clever solution. They said what I did was mean and demeaning. You know what else is demeaning? Having people freaking lick you like a dog and to be expected to just tolerate it. Especially during a respiratory viral pandemic. Not Dayhall. Other people's rights end at your body. Next story is titled, Am I Dayhall for not inviting my stepbrother to my wedding? I'm male 38, marrying my love female 33 in a couple of months, and my mother is really upset with me for not inviting my stepbrother. Me and him have never got along. He used to bully me when him and his mother moved in when I was 11. He was always physically bigger and used to try and dominate me and my brother. His mother, my mother's wife, thought the son shone out his butt and wouldn't accept the fact he was bullying me. She also convinced my mother that he wasn't a bully. In more recent times, I don't have anything to do with the bloke at all. I don't consider him as family. The last time I saw him around 4 years ago, I said a hello to him. I try to be polite at least to people, and he wouldn't even say hi back. My mother seems to have this image in her head of this perfect union of my family and her wife's family, but I don't feel the same way. It doesn't bother me that she married her wife, but my view is that they're her family, not mine. Sure, if they were nice people, it might be different, but they aren't. I also don't get along with Mom's wife, but I'd be civil to her to keep the peace with Mom. Am I the a-hole here? Since it's my wedding, surely I'm allowed to not invite whomever I want. Thanks for your time. Now for the comments. Not Dayhall. It is about you and your wife-to-be, nobody else. If you don't want him there, don't invite him. Your mom needs a bit of a reality check. Best of luck. Not Dayhall. Mom, I haven't said 3 words to him in the last 4 years. And when I did say hi, he couldn't be bothered to respond. No, your stepson is not taking up space at my wedding that could be used by someone who actually gives a damn about me. But he is family. No, Mom. He's your family, not mine. We're just 2 strangers who are very happy without being involved in each other's life. Now, stop trying to dictate what I should be doing in my day, with my money. Good night. Not Dayhall. Your wedding, your decision. You don't want to spend your wedding with someone that tormented you growing up and hasn't grown out of it. You don't need that negativity at your wedding. Thanks for your input. Yeah, I don't need that negativity, but still feel a bit bad because Mom's putting the pressure on. Have you had a conversation with your mother about what happened when you were little? Not Dayhall. Yeah, we've talked about it a long time ago. She may have forgotten. She's getting pretty old and health not that great at times. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for charging my siblings $5 each for food? I'm a 20-year-old male and live alone. I work 2 jobs, so I'm constantly busy and have little time even for myself. Last week, my siblings, my little brother and sister, asked if they could spend a weekend with me after I mentioned finally having a free weekend from one of my jobs. I was hesitant since I kinda wanted to enjoy time alone, but I love my siblings more than anything, so I said sure. I felt that my parents would also like a break, so I didn't mind. On that Friday, I worked the afternoon at my second job, so when I picked them up that morning, I brought them a few snacks and told them to fix something at my house if they got hungry. When I got off, my sister, who is 15, asked if I can get her and my 8-year-old brother some Taco Bell. I had the money to eat out, so I said sure and picked some up on the way home for them. The next day, I was off from both jobs, so I was planning on doing very little. We did go out shopping to a few shops nearby. Before we went home, I brought them more snacks and told them I was going to get pizza for dinner. However, they complained that they didn't like that kind of pizza. I then asked what would they like. They wanted pizza, but pizza that costed way more than I was going to be paying for the other. I told them no, and that the cheap pizza wouldn't kill them. Plus it was free for them, not for me. They complained a little more, till I told them that I will get the more expensive pizza if they both chipped in $5 towards it. My little brother was okay with that, and my sister hesitated, but eventually said okay. I took the money and brought the pizza. The rest of the day was good. The next day, while I worked my second job, my stepdad came to pick them up to take them home. A few days ago, I went to return a bag my sister left back to them, and upon entering the house, my stepdad asked to talk to me. We stepped into a room where he laid into me about being a terrible brother for charging my siblings for dinner. I tried to explain that they wanted a pizza that was triple the one I was originally going to get them for free, and that I paid for dinner and snacks multiple times for free, but he kept cutting me off. He then told me to get the hell out of his house. I told him have a good day sarcastically and left. Later, when with my best friend, my mother texted and called me names for how I was disrespectful and a bad person for what I did. I told her I didn't think I did anything wrong, and to just leave me alone if they are mad over $10 damn. She told me that since I'm acting grown, to never contact them again. I told her that since I'm 20, that I would be okay with leaving them alone. My friend told me I was in the right and did nothing wrong, but I just want to be reassured that I wasn't the a-hole. I love my siblings, and I hate that my parents are mad over something that they don't want to understand. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your siblings are rude for complaining about something they demanded, and your parents are way over the line for going off on you without even bothering to sit down and ask what happened. But based on your parents' incredibly disproportionate response, at least now you know why your siblings feel so entitled to get whatever they demand. If his parents are willing to never see him again because of $10, good riddance. So my question is, OP is doing his parents a favor giving them a free weekend. Why wouldn't they give him money to help feed their kids? Anytime my kids go somewhere without me, they're given cash for any unexpected costs. As a mom and grandma, honey, you did the right damn thing. Not the a-hole. You showed your small persons that they have the absolute right as kids to expect those caring for them to provide them food and shelter within the bounds of the available budget and within reason. You also showed them that if they demand extra, they should be prepared to pay up. This is not a lesson that can be learned too early. A 6-year-old saying, I want to go to the movies instead watching at home, is definitely old enough to be told, sure, tickets are $10 each. Here's a list of extra chores and what I'll pay to have them gone. Go get 'em, tiger. We want kids to know they have a good bit of autonomy over their choices, but we also definitely want them to know they cannot force others to sacrifice themselves or their ultimate well-being to give fancy extra things to them. Rent comes before Roblox. A non-payment alternative in the future is to lay out the budget, as you did, and let them spend an hour if needed going over the entire menu looking for something you can afford. You already know, let them figure it out. And then let them help you order it so they feel involved and grown up. That's way more fun than sun-dried marshmallows and bespoke pepperoni and pizza anyhow. As I stated in a reply, my parents are in no way on a budget. They buy things for the heck of it, and just brought an expensive car, even though they already have one for each of them. So now they have 3 cars for 2 people. And this is also the only time I have ever charged my siblings. Every time I've had them, I've cooked with my own groceries or buy fast food with my own money. A few months ago, I was living paycheck to paycheck, barely getting by with rent alone. When I had them over, I still brought them things and everything with money meant to keep me going. I'm financially stable now, but I don't see a problem with me asking them to pay $10 of a $35 meal, even after they agreed and were okay with it.